So hello everyone, and welcome to our undergraduate dance virtual open day. My name is Rachel and I'm the student recruitment manager, and it's my pleasure today to welcome you to this open evening. Just to quickly introduce us then, you'll see that there's quite a lot of us here today from the dance faculty. So we have our Director of Dance, Sarah, who I'll be handing over to in just a minute to introduce our Faculty of Dance. We have our Head of Programmes, Colin, our Programme Leader for Foundation, Will, our Programme Leader for BSc Dance Science, Sonia. From Admissions, we have Clara, and joining me from Recruitment, we have Eva and Hannah. And finally, we have our current students, let me make sure I get this right, Luke, Archie, Malachi, Sam and Emma. So I'm delighted now to hand over to our Director of Dance, Sara Matthews, to introduce us and introduce you to our dance faculty.
Thank you, Rachel. And hello, and a very, very warm welcome from all of us at Trinity Laban, and from me personally, Sara Matthews, Director of Dance. And thank you so much for joining us today. It's really lovely to have so many of you with us. And I'm sure you're going to find this event, this virtual open event, informative and inspiring. And I really hope that you will have lots of questions, because those questions, as Rachel said, are really important. And this is your opportunity to find out as much as you can about our programs, and so that when you finally make choices about which programs you want to apply to, that you know that those are the right programs for you as an individual, for your future aspirations and your future aims. And whilst this is a virtual event, and of course these do feel a bit strange for all of us, because we'd much rather be talking to you in person in the Laban building, in our stunning Laban building, but I'm sure you're going to get a sense of the wonderful, warm and welcoming community that we are, that Trinity Laban is. And when you meet my colleagues and our students and our alumni, I'm sure you will get that sense. And don't forget to ask all of those burning questions, because it's really, really important. This is your opportunity to really ask those questions, but I'm sure you will have more questions that come up in your mind, in the future, tomorrow or over the weekend. So don't hesitate to email us with those, because the more information we can help you gather, the better informed your eventual choices will be. So we've got a lot to get through this evening, huge amount to get through this evening, and I know that my colleagues have got lots of information to share with you. So I'm going to hand back to Rachel, who I think is then going to be handing over to Colin, who's Head of Dance Programmes and Programme Leader for the BA Contemporary Dance. But it's lovely to meet you all, and I hope to see you and meet you in the Laban building at some point, as soon as we're all able to do that. Thank you, Rachel.
Okay, thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you. So I think it would be good to go through an initial question that I know lots of people have, which is about admissions and applications. I know that's often a big concern for lots of people. So I'm delighted today to be joined by Clara from Admissions. So Clara, perhaps if you could explain a little bit about the process for students who want to apply to either the Contemporary Dance or BSc Dance Science programs.
Yes, basically the applications are done through UCAS Conservatoire. So you have to apply for 200F is the code for BA Contemporary Dance, or 201F is for Dance Science, and 2003 if you want Foundation. Anyone for International Foundation, you have to apply for, the code is 191F as well. So once you submit your application via UCAS Conservatoires, and there's a page on our website, if you look for how to apply in the dance section, you will see some instructions about how you can do that. There's also a guide that takes you step by step throughout the whole application. And once you've submitted the application in UCAS, then you need to submit a recorded audition on Embark. And again, you can find that information on the auditions page, which we can send you the link for if you cannot find it. And basically, you've got a set of exercises that you need to repeat and upload on Embark. And that's the basic process for application.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Clara. If anyone's got any follow-up questions, do send them through in the chat about that. Okay, so I think I'm going to go straight into a more general question while we've got everyone here before we go into sort of the programme Q&As. And this is a question that came through that I think applies to all programmes, which is what are the differences between a conservatoire and a dance degree at university? So I think, Colin, if I ask you, maybe you can go through a little bit, what's the difference between a conservatoire and a regular university, I suppose?
Yes, absolutely. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Yes, this question is asked a lot, and I don't think people really realise that there is quite a dramatic difference between dance education and training that you would have in a university context and what you would have at a conservatoire. The conservatoires, of course, are part of the HE sector in the United Kingdom, so they are of equivalent status to universities. However, most of the conservatoires in the UK are funded very differently. And they're funded differently because there's an acknowledgement that the amount of training that a student needs to become a professional dance artist, and this also applies to music and visual arts and other performing arts, but to become a dance artist, you need a large number of contact hours, and therefore more money is given to conservatoires to fund the training that you would experience if you were on the BACD, for example. So that means that you still pay the same as a student that would go to a university to study dance. However, the amount of contact you have with the tutors, the amount of studio time you have, the amount of learning that you experience is actually probably double, if not more, than you would experience in a university. Another major difference between conservatoires and university is this notion of vocational training, whereas in a conservatoire, the focus is very much on training you to become a professional dance artist. That's not to say universities are not doing the same. However, their curriculum would be much broader, so that it would also be focusing on people becoming teachers, dance leaders in the community, dance managers, dance administrators, all these things we also do. But our primary focus is training the performers and the dance makers of the future. And that doesn't mean to say you can't branch out into different fields of dance. And of course, most people do. Most people have the portfolio career, which involves lots of different activities, not just focusing on one element of dance. But we do really focus on your technical training and the development of your creative and performance skills, underpinned by theoretical knowledge, which I'll get into later in answer to some of the other questions. So I think that's probably enough for now, but those are the major differences between conservatoire training and education and university training and education. How it manifests itself is that you are in every day in a normal year, not under COVID regulations, of course, and you are in long days and into the evenings and weekends, whereas if you're at university, you might be doing between 12 and 16 hours a week, which might be 3 days a week. But at Trinity Laban, it's more like 25, 26, 27 hours a week.
Great, thank you. Sonia, I wasn't sure if you wanted to add anything from the perspective of dance science in terms of the differences between conservatoire and university education.
Yeah, it's worth reiterating what Colin's just said, because obviously there are other dance science courses as well, but being based in the conservatoire means you get over 30 weeks contact time. So in comparison to some of the other BScs, which are based on the university semester system, you will get a lot of tuition and a lot of hours for the fees, for similar fees that you pay. So while we aren't focusing on, not necessarily not producing, but not focusing on the performing artist, you're still getting the conservatoire environment and the conservatoire ethos in a BSc degree. So it's worth reiterating that you get extra with Trinity Laban being in the conservatoire.
I think on that note, obviously we're joined by a lot of current students here, and so I know that some of you are in your first or second year, so it would be interested to hear from you about how you made that choice to study at Trinity Laban, but also how to choose between studying at a conservatoire and at a university. So Luke, I'm going to ask you that question because you're next to me on my screen.
I chose to come here because in my last year at college, I did a assignment which was based on Laban's theory on space and dynamics. And I wanted to delve into that more and knowing about past people who've come to Trinity Laban and seeing how they've developed not only on the performance side, but technique. That's why I wanted to come here and carry on my studies.
That's great, thank you. And how about you, Archie?
My answer is nowhere near as elaborate as Luke. I just really enjoy Laban when I first auditioned here. When I first came here when I was 18 on like my cat toolkit. I just felt like a really nice vibe when I just came here, and I've just always wanted to come ever since. So that's my answer.
Yeah. Okay, Emma, how about you? Why did you choose Trinity Laban?
So Trinity Laban was the only conservatoire that had offered the BSc Dance Science course. So I wanted to be in a conservatoire so that if I were to do like lab testing on dances, I would have full access to professionally training dancers. So that's one of the reasons. And yeah, the building is so pretty.
Thank you. Yes, we're so sad that we can't be hosting you in the Laban building at the moment. I hope that you've all had a chance to look at the videos. We have included a virtual tour in there. But yes, we really hope when all of this is over that you're able to come and just see the incredible building that we're all in. Yeah, Malachi, go ahead.
So I did the summer school in 2018, and then after that I just felt like it was the place for me. I did auditions at other places. I auditioned at universities and other conservatoires, but I just felt that Laban just felt right for me. It had that balance of creativity and technique. It didn't focus too much on one.
Well, it just reminded me, listening to what the students were saying, the other big difference, and there are lots and I haven't remembered all of them, but one I've just remembered, a big difference between conservatoires and universities, the community that you are actually learning in is obviously very focused on one discipline. And all the different aspects of that discipline. So if you do come to Trinity Laban Conservatoire, you're not just studying for the undergraduate foundation program that you're on, but you're also surrounded by other dance artists, some of whom have already got a professional practice, and they're studying at diploma level, at postgraduate level, studying for MAs, MFAs, and MSc, and even for doctorates studies. So you're actually surrounded by a completely diverse community, all of whom are driven by their passion for dance. And so that's a really important thing to remember. If you go to university, then you might be in a dance department, which is one of many that sits alongside biology and history and biodynamics and all sorts of different areas, but it is just that there is a specific focus about being at Trinity Laban because everything is dance related and music related, of course, in our other faculty, but within the Laban building, it's all about dance.
Yeah, it's just worth also adding that the BSc community is part of the wider community as well. It's not a separate thing. And while maybe we don't call ourselves dance artists, we are dance practitioners in the same way as the BA contemporary dancers are. So we're all part of the same community, and Colin's right, we feel as though we're all doing the same thing, even though we have different threads. Yes, you may also be mixing with musical theatre students, music students, but we have a nice homogenous feel that we're all working to, and the foundation students working towards the same aim, is understanding dancing in a really in-depth way, regardless of whether you're coming at it from the scientific angle or the performance angle, or just preparing yourself to choose one of those pathways as well.
Brilliant, thank you. Yes, and I think that that sense of community is something that you'll realise sort of comes up a lot in when we talk about Trinity Laban, and it's, you know, it's amongst the staff and the students, but also our alumni as well. So, you know, and you'll be seeing that later on with the panel, but that kind of sense that once you join Trinity Laban, you join this sort of creative community.